Well, until the police get here, do you wanna talk Gundam?
Let's talk Gundam, and until I don't know what the results is going to be for my treason. We just exile.
What's the meanest thing that happened to you in Chicago? And then we'll start.
So, in a lot of cases, there's argument that I was the initial.
You had the Chicago meanness?
Don't act surprised. One time, we yelled at a bicyclist to get off the fucking street. Stickhead decided to try to chase us.
Oh, it escalated.
Yeah, and try to grab onto my mirror.
Damn, it turned into like a Tony Hawk.
A little bit, yeah. The other one is me flicking off another driver, and they try to chase me down.
It's so weird when that happens.
It's weird.
Don't you have somewhere to be?
Yeah, just take the fuck you and go about your business.
Yeah, just a nice friendly fuck you. Honestly, some of that meanness is a little bit of a release valve.
It's in passing too. Like you said, everyone's so busy doing their own stuff.
If someone had gone up to me and tried to grab onto my mirror, I'd say to them hey pal, buzz off. So I can be pretty mean too. I can be like, hey, beat it. It's a good thing I wasn't there.
It was just funny in retrospect because we just drove away.
What do you have a car yet? You outrank them.
Yeah, right, exactly. I guess this is a concern too, though, because I don't want to mess up a bicyclist.
Oh yeah. They have the moral. They got the moral blackmail on you.
Yeah, they have the high horse.
Oh, you got the horsepower. They got the high horse. This is the American an American imagined dystopia, and it's the tyranny of the evil cyclists hiking up the road to get in front of you, and they don't go that fast.
Cars are evil though, straight up. We dedicate a disgusting amount of space.
Speaking of machines that take up a lot of space, speaking of space, there we go. You ever heard of Mobile Suit I already lost it. Mobile Suit Gundam Zeta?
Zeta? Heard of Zeta before.
Oh, it's a new one. This Gundam is made out of. It's the same, but it's more things.
More pieces.
Yeah, you would not believe all the moving parts. Oh, you know what? I've been thinking about this. Okay, let's get started. It's gonna be a hell to edit. I've been holding on to this since Mobile Suit Gundam 79.
Okay, shoot.
But I imagine that at White Base or at the Argama, they just have an entire floor dedicated to spare Gundam arms and legs and chest plates, swords, and guns. How many times do they have to lose their an integral part of the machine
before it's we're out of legs?
We're out.
There's no more legs in stock. Sorry.
I expected, it's a war. Of course, we understand, but we didn't budget for more than 6 extra legs.
So before I would have said, okay, that's a crazy point that impacts the realism. I think Zeta answers that question though. We've got child labor to take the remnants of old colonies and old mobile suits.
That's true.
Towards repurposing.
Right, the aftermarket is booming. There's enough Gundam parts lying around that anyone can make their own Gundam if they just junk around long enough.
In fact, I think there's some junkers that have.
That guy's so fun. I love the vibe. All right, do you want to get started talking about
let's start
Zeta Gundam?
Let's start really diving in. Listeners, this is a doozy. This is a journey. Enjoy the ride. Yeah, let's go deep into it. What was the guy's name again? He was so early on.
Let me look. I'm on the wiki right now.
Is it Bajak?
Yeah, Game on Bajak. I love all the names. I was so thrilled when I found that.
Marsha Marshmallow or whatever.
Mashimre, which about like all these characters, I don't know where I was reading like, while like preparing to like do this entire series. I was looking at like a rundown of what all the shows were, and like I can't believe people called like like some lists are like listed as like divisive or something. But Zeta Zeta like is it's really good. Like even when it's goofy, it's funny. Like it lands.
Yeah, oh for sure. I laughed out loud. I don't know.
Mashing Ray, like all every time he has a flashback.
What's the critique? Like, oh, it's as dark or something? Like,
I don't know.
For me, like some of that goofiness even works towards that realism because a lot of those previously competent villains and heroes are now dead or hospitalized, right?
Imagine how horrible it is to be Bright. He's lieutenant now, right?
Yeah.
That's his rank. Like you just like went through a harrowing war. You lost everyone that you've built bonds with over the last few years. You try to get like the one person who's left like one of two, right? There's still Fa. You land like Bedraggle like at this like colony, like forgotten colony, to send your dear friend to the hospital, and within hours some punk kids come to your base throwing oranges at you. No, they just
Bry is a masterful babysitter.
Yeah, that's his true like. I think he's like new type, right? Because he can like tell when someone's special.
Yeah, they've never explicitly said, "Oh, Bright Noah is a new type."
He's got a good eye for it. Either way, like if he is new type, it's all going into managing teenagers with like emotion regulation problems.
Yeah,
but I like that like it sort of becomes that like by necessity. Like they could have just like let it be that he's just the stern-ish captain, the captain who's stern enough. But they even like make a point to be like, no, this is part of his strengths. It's not just that he can like identify talent and know when to ease off, but he even has that confrontation with what's his name? I'm jumping way ahead, but was the AUG guy
sponsor?
Yeah, it was. It was nice that he stood up for judo. Like it's a totally different like. Bright has been like our constant, throughout this like series, and it's neat to see him evolve. Like in the original, in '79, like he was talking about kicking off Amuro, and now you got judo. He's even more of a handful. Like Amuro is like overall like a nice guy, and judo, I guess he's like good, but he's very independent, like anti-authority.
All judo cares about is his sister and interpersonal relationships, which is really what most of these people are fighting for anyways. Like,
yeah,
ideology.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's getting to your point about like the lightheartedness contributing to the realism, or like complementing it well. Like having like these kids that are like that are motivated by such different things, like it lets you like analyze like a whole different aspect of wars, like why we even fight. And you have like I hope I get the names right, Mondo and Bicha.
Yeah,
like the way their alliances shift, like they're the first people that want to be on the Argama, and then they're the first people to get off the Argama.
We're gonna die. Nope. Let's change course.
Which is like, it's great like material for like comedy, action, tension, and like analyzing these themes. Like that's like one of the best parts of the Moon arc, which I don't know when you want to get to it. It is the way that they're sort of like in between things, where they're sometimes helping and sometimes getting in the way, depending on like what their immediate read on what benefits them is.
We can dive into Moon and what excited me about arc especially. You seem more on the fence about it.
Yeah, like I guess like now I have a little bit more distance. I was talking about it because I was so on board. I loved all the antics at Shangri-La. Again, going back to that balance of like goofiness and realism and like serious themes. Yeah, this kind of place that sort of like found a way to live off of the war by, even though they've mostly just, live in a sort of like neglected, like subaltern existence. And then it's like there's like this sort of like you have Mushroom like this goofy and they go into space. Like Moon is interesting. I don't know what got me. It just sort of like it felt so. That one felt like I guess like the opposite, where like the setting of Shangri-La is serious, but then like what happens is more goofy. And this felt like a sort of inversion where it's like a goofy premise that like feels like it's like trying to be more serious than it ought to be. And then you have like this thing with I don't know, like the aesthetics. I do like the idea of like a overgrown kind of jungly colony that somehow like there's the one colony that has like a Chichen Itza or like a Mayan pyramid across from a Stonehenge.
There's some jarring aspects to it for sure.
It's yeah, it was a lot for me to have to like buy into, and then like a lot of those aesthetics, like whenever you see like the not the Sarasa and Rasara, that's kind of that's kind of funny, but that other guy, that chief guy, he kind of like the way he's drawn. It's not like he's drawn to look like a Native American or like Mesoamerican like chief. He's drawn to look like if there was like a movie in which John Wayne played a Mayan chief. Like he looks like in a drawing, he looks like a white guy
Yeah.
in costume. Looks like John Wayne as Genghis Khan or
Yeah. I hear some of the issues and critiques. Personally, I was super excited to see this take on human variety and how they handle themselves in space if allowed to.
yeah, it is cool. Like yeah, like that note at the end. Like just given some time, I have warmed up to it. That note at the end where Judo's like, "This actually would be a great place to go when we're done at the Argama." Because it's a place that was allowed to be left alone and like figure things out for themselves.
Forgotten, which was the major reason behind their conflict in that arc. But I don't. It excited me for the possibilities of what Gundam can be, what visuals they can play with, and where it can go.
Yeah, yeah. I was excited at first when they first came in, and like you kind of see the vines. You kind of see the vines, and everything's dark. So at first it's spooky, and then like these like kind of ninjas show up.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I was like, oh shit, like they're really cooking now. It's true, and I do like the overgrown. It it reminds me of I'm gonna compare it to an anime, which is weird because this is not an anime. But it reminds me of Castle in the Sky, like that, like technology and like plant life.
Yeah.
Like coming to a new arrangement.
It excites me. Maybe there will be like a Japan space station out there somewhere, or
that's true. Now they broke the seal on like what kinds of things you can do, because that's actually yeah. I'm more on board now. I have felt a little bit bored by. Bored is a strong word, but I have felt a little bit let down in the previous Gundams that every time they go to another colony, it looks like the Alps.
Yeah. They're very European styled, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a very specific flavor. Like everything has to look like Heidi.
I guess the explanation there is that if humans had the choice, that'd be humans would choose. Like it's the most arid, most hot.
Right. Like a sort of a temperate climate that's like just like nice to live in. Like you don't want like a type of environment that would like have hurricanes or annoying amounts of rain. Like if you're like in a rainforest setting, then
Tundra.
Half the year or tundra. you get desert sometimes, but that's only when it's been
ruined to absolute.
ruined by chemical weapons.
It'd be cool if there were survivors of one of those though, and what they did after the fact.
Yeah, I'm worried. Like Zeta, I maybe in future series, but like I think how far into it do you want to discuss? Like just like until they get back to Earth, maybe is a good stopping point.
Because that was right around like episode 23.
23, yeah. I ended up watching the very next one, but if we can save that for next time.
Yeah, I got a little bit past Earth, and well, yeah, like their first initial conflict there.
Mm-hmm. Which is also interesting. That's like with that boy and his father
and his sister and
his sister. There must have been a writer that came on board or something, like maybe like Tomino and his crew have like really matured, but like even the Moon, like I had some issues with sort of broadness of how they depict I don't know, like these indigenous coded people.
That's a totally fair critique too, for sure.
But it's to the in the service of like a meditation, not a meditation, whatever, a dispute between like different faiths, because you have like the twins, like the twins are like a different idea of how they should interpret the sort of miracle that they've encountered, like this like new peaceful reality, like separate from conflict and technology.
But it's the technology that liberated them from it from the get-go. So that's the technic primitivism. I guess the tragic part is that they have no understanding of how to fix it if anything goes wrong.
Like, yeah, they're lucky that the climate became self-sustaining, but like if the only thing that they're allowed they let themselves like interface with is just the whatever, the space hatch, like the opening. Things could get rough. Like what about like their rotation? Like I don't know, like what if there's like I don't know, like there's technology things. We can just decide that it achieved an equilibrium and it'll be fine forever.
Yeah, there's.
But they're out in space. They're very vulnerable.
Yeah. I guess where they're at just holds zero strategic weight.
Yeah. So at least like they can rest easy, not being disturbed by too much aggression between the different political parties in this galactic. I was gonna say federation, but they're not federated. They're not.
It makes me excited to see what people are doing out in Jupiter.
Oh, that's right, because that's where we only heard about Optimus Scirocco being from there. And as always, I guess like the norm with Mobile Suit Book Club is we're just gonna jump around whenever we're talking about anything. But like a critique that we both had of Zeta Gundam was the way that Scirocco just brainwashed Martha by like just like grabbing her shoulders and that's it. And the scene where Haman like kind of seduces, but it's like a little deeper than that. Like the scene where she like corners Judo and like almost kisses him. That felt like a much more plausible sort of new type encouragement. Like instead of just like them telling you, okay, that's how it is, it dramatized it in a way. It found a way to depict it that was like compelling to me.
It was far more successful because they showed it. It didn't just tell us, okay, this is what happened. They actually showed us that interaction. I guess they had
the materials available, and that Judo is more of a free agent than Martha. Like when we meet her, she's already part of the crew, and then afterwards, she gives us this backstory of how she would get into these rebellions, like these student groups, whatever these rebel groups, and like she gives like this explanation that she was never really out for a cause, just sort of like looking for a way to lash out because of how unsure she is about who she is. Like she gives this explanation after the fact for why she might even be on the fence. but Judo like has already his own course. So then it makes much more sense dramatically for Haman to be like, but that course that you're on, makes sense with Zeon, with people who are like, yeah, she had like it's more like it was set up earlier, like the dominoes were set up before instead of, just being given some kind of justification after the fact.
I mean, writing is far better there for sure.
Oh yeah, that's what we're talking. Yeah, overall, I think it is like much better writing. Like, yeah, I don't know if I said it already. Like in this past hour ish. I don't know if I already said like this has been my favorite, my Gundam so far. There's some moments like I like Zeta. I like the way Zeta feels so righteous. I like how you get like caught up in Camille's like sense of justice.
In a good fight.
Mm-hmm. Like that moment when Emma Sheen, like it's like Emma Sheen defecting from the Titans is cool, and then when they take her to that colony that got gassed, and she's like, oh my, like that. That's interesting.
But does it top that though?
I don't know if there's like a high that's as big. There's a moment actually when Argama is equipped with a special cannon and they're gonna shoot it at Axis. Yeah,
that was a compelling moment.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one. You can see the gray, but not really. Like it just feels like they're doing a bad thing, and you're just like watching them do it. Like you understand why they chose that in that moment, but you're given every reason to see why. Like it's a little bit cartoonishly evil when you think about it, to gas an entire colony of like millions of people. Not that evil hasn't existed on Earth on its own scale, but seeing Bright do something like that and understanding why he's doing it at the same time that you have had time on the surface to
and also not want him to do it, but you see the motives there.
Yeah, right, because I'm not sure what they ended up accomplishing. That's on me, I think. Not like what they didn't show, and maybe it makes sense too that they just went like, I'm sure that we didn't hit too many civilians, and they kind of pieced out.
It didn't look like they did much, but probably won't show us until later if they did a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm imagining something kind of dark where like, so they shot their energy things. Like, okay, they didn't directly shooting civilians, but now there's this place that has like energy deficits when they're out in space. They don't have the moon miracle to rely on for sustenance. Like
moon miracle, I like that. That's good.
Something a little more alliterative than I meant.
That can end up taking a dark direction for sure.
Right, for all we know. And then it ended up just being like this sort of like this sort of give and take where like they neutralized Zeon's base of operations as closest to Earth, maybe.
I was gonna ask. I mean, Nexus might be kind of interesting in that. Are they the same Zeon?
They're in that style. Like that's where Haman was living, like in this like very feudal style castle. It's. Let me see. I'm looking up Axis Zeon and seeing like how the geography breaks down.
What's compelling about Zeon is that they're not really Abby led anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Haman wants that.
Yeah, and she's still committed to the ideological project of a new type. Like this Ubermensch ascendancy.
Has she expressed though that she wants those? Wants government over? I guess she doesn't need to.
Yeah, she's just in control. But that was like I feel like that wasn't that the language she was using when she was trying to get Judo to flip. Like she wasn't talking so much about his sister, but just about how he's different, right?
Yeah. He hasn't gone as far as Garen yet.
Yeah, no, for sure. Although the next episode that I have left to watch is The Face of Rommel.
I think that's my next one too. Another World War II reference.
Plus I guess that's the other thing. Like I guess the obvious thing. Like I kind of all speaks for itself. The obvious thing to bring up also when they shot at Axis was they use the U.S. atomic bomb justification.
It.
Like, oh, this will save so many lives in the long run.
It'll save your lives in the long run.
Right, yeah, that's the...
It'll save the white Americans.
Yeah, what a bad thing.
It's crazy they got a laser like that on their ship now.
Yeah.
It's like the colony cannon tech. Are Gamma scary now?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm waiting for the next installment of Gundam to make AEUG the next villain. Yeah, Anaheim Electronics is like they're getting really into that arms race. That's a really good point that you brought up, because I was thinking about the Zeta gun. That, like, when on the Zeta, like, they shot that huge beam that comes out of his head, and it, like, it doesn't even hit. Was it? I don't remember if it was Machinray at the time, or if that was already Chara's R Jar Jar. But it doesn't even hit them directly, and it's like just melts their mobile suit.
Yeah, they're getting there's some scary power there, having a corporation do that. Provide that.
Yeah, even thinking that it's not even a government. Not that we can trust the state, very much. It was, whatever, like Fat Boy was a U.S. government project. It wasn't. But I don't know, I don't know that I would trust Sony or Dell to
develop and hold my weapons, and
yeah, I guess that's closer to what we're doing now.
That could be a possible direction for future installments in the Universal Century.
Yeah, like the way this series expands is really cool. Like they can, like, I don't mind them. I want them to explore as many tones as they can. Is there room for a avant-garde surrealistic Gundam? I'd hope so. They can justify with some new type stuff.
My expectation is that that's what A is going to be.
Real? Oh shit! How many off are we from that? Let me see here. Oh, we're doing Char's Counterattack next.
Hell yeah, I've been waiting for that one.
Oh yeah.
I've been waiting for Char to come back. We didn't do it Netflix weird. It's just weird that Netflix has the compilation movies and then straight Char's Counterattack.
Yeah, there's so much that happens in between.
It looks such an odd choice. Okay, so we got some time before Turn A.
Yeah, we got F91, Victory Gundam, Suit V Gundam, Fighter G Gundam, Gundam Wing, Gundam
Fighter
X.
G. Fighter G looks like it'll be unique.
Yeah, is a Fighter G the one that had the Holland Gundam and the Mexico Gundam with the mustache? Yes. I can't wait. I want to see that fish Gundam. What it do?
What it do?
What it do? Oh, did you want to talk about how do you feel about the change in design? Like, there's definitely like a creative shift that happened.
So digging it. Like I almost forgot I was watching Gundam when they had a close up on Yazan.
Oh yeah, I think I know exactly the one you're thinking of. Like an episode
when he's in Shangri-La and his face is like all
like these like deep shadows.
Yeah, that was.
I'm so glad you brought it up. I meant to like even take a picture of it. That it's so intense and scary. Like Yazan, I'm sure he'll come back eventually. He has a great flavor in those early episodes because maybe that's what keeps some continuity going. And then everyone is living in their own kind of world still. Like the thing where like they're throwing oranges at Bright, it makes perfect sense within like it makes perfect sense for the story of the kids to throw oranges at them, even though it's such a crazy whiplash for for Bright as we were where yeah, but like these kids like they're it's sort of like an interesting thing that they're involved with the Argama, just like trying to steal their mobile suit. Um, and then there's this guy who was like one of the most dangerous pilots in the previous show, who like really means business. Like he's like Gaemon Bajak. Another instance of sort of like a goofy kind of like comedic take on dramatizing like a sort of like realistic, like grounded sort of offshoot of like the events
For
depicted.
evils.
Like this kind of like junkyard king. He gives like the vibe of, I don't know, like your friend's dad who like definitely voted for Trump, like the biggest mattress store owner in the county.
Yeah, he played a lot of Monopoly as a kid.
Right. Right. That's like the only thing that gave him the feeling that he was that gave him joy is a sort of this control and power. I think it's so fun as like you're so proud of having the cockpit be movable. It's like, why would you want that? It's useful one
But that backfired. That's so backfired, and it was so funny.
like it was useful one time. It's like, oh, okay, I guess there's some perks.
Good innovation there.
And then immediately it's yeah, but you have that character and like Mashim Ray. I think he's so funny.
You mentioned his flashbacks, and they're a joy to behold.
Yeah, every time, and like the funniest part isn't just the flashback. It's when he's brought back down to Earth, and I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I love that they didn't overplay it too. That like he has that rose. Like that they didn't overplay it.
Every time you see it though, you know, like, oh yeah, that's that rose he had waxed or crystallized.
Yeah, I love when he explains that it was like they just sort of let it hang. He just sort of explains, I did this by the way. It just like it solidifies him as like this as someone who's
this romantic.
Yeah. This romantic who's like holding on to like one episode.
Yes.
Like holding on to like this like one little bit of time that he had with her, and then he's like romanticizing this past like over and over. Like have you ever seen this movie called Zama?
Dama.
It's I think Argentinian. It might be on Amazon, I'm not sure.
2017?
20, yeah.
It's a novel by Antonio Di Edo. I have not seen this.
It's really good. I'd highly recommend it. It's sort of like about this it's like at the end of like Spanish occupation of South America, or maybe a little bit before. Like
That's a cool history, by the way.
yeah. Yeah, but like Zama is interesting. It's not about like these great men. It's about this guy who's like in charge of like a kind of backwater in the Spanish Empire in South America. He like he's like sort of like neglecting this area, not really taking care of it. He's just it's sort of about how he means nothing. Like he's the ass end forgotten head of an empire in decline in a region that no one cares about in the first place.
Oh, so this is like Marche then?
Yeah, a little bit. There's a scene where, that's what I was thinking. It's like kind of like Mushroom, but like in Zama, he's like kind of depressed. He wants to be transferred to one of the more exciting parts of the empire, one of the more metropolitan European-ish parts of South America. With Mushroom Ray, he's like, well, this is my duty. I should do it for Haman. It's so funny when like his fantasies and his like the way he romanticizes his post like doesn't ever truly match up with reality. Well, at the same time, he's still like he serves the villain part well enough.
Yeah, and well, I mean, the funny part is that he playing the villain part here, chasing after Argama, he is totally failing at his post.
Yeah. Right. Over and over. It's something that going back to like another criticism we had of the earlier seasons of Gundam, maybe like more like 79. Like Char failed in the movies, at least that we watched. Like he failed just enough times with Amuro that I was like a little bit silly. Like how can
Yeah. He was very Team Rocket.
Yeah. Right, and like they leaned into it with Machine Ray, who was like some guy who isn't really even taken seriously by Zeon all that much.
What? He's their marketing specialist, more or less. He's like their PR guy.
Yeah. Yeah, like at least like Haman sees that he can establish a foothold at Shangri-La. Oh, I thought of a quote actually. Watching Zeta Gundam. I meant to do it earlier, but this is like the show. This is the show where you see history repeat itself as a farce. Although I'm afraid we might have. I'm afraid the first leg is gonna be more comedic than the second leg.
Yeah, we'll see where they take it. I'm looking forward to it at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna. What's the quick run through? So first they're at Shangri-La, and that's a couple of people on there get on the Argama.
There's some betrayal.
Man, that's crazy. They have such big hearts, but that's crazy that they're so forgiving to Bicha and Mondo.
Yeah, Bicha and
Mondo.
Mondo are forgiving to them, aren't they? Surprisingly so. They're not so forgiving to the crybaby spy.
Yeah. Taurus was so... Oh, because Cynthia, was that her name? Cynthia or Cecilia?
Oh. Celia, okay. That's it. Crybaby Cecilia.
That was interesting too. Episode 2. By the way, I was so happy when they got to Granada, when they got to the moon, and we hear the...
They were playing that song,
Now that's a song. Oh, that song's so good. I need to get it on vinyl. I need just to have that playing all the time. I need to wake up to that.
You play it sometimes.
Yeah, still?
In the morning. Oh, yeah.
It's a good song. Great discovery.
It's really catchy. It's really catchy for sure.
Yeah, so it's really cool returning there. Which is like I feel like when they were at Granada too in Zeta was like kind of a high point. Like they found a way to find a good balance, like with how like strong we were talking about like how strong the Argama was and how strong the double Zeta Gundam is. But they still find tension in that they find like all these excuses to have conflicts happen outside of the mobile suits. And sometimes the driving drama is sort of like, can they get to their mobile suit in time?
Yes.
And, you get to have all this stuff where, like, someone gets off one of the core boosters and then someone else gets on. And, like, as I really...
I have a critique in Double Zeta's Gundam design. Cool, it's badass, and I love this modular, and it's big because of that. Mm-hmm. Strategically kind of a bad idea.
I think they really need to line up. And, like, once you're aware that that's how it works, then why wouldn't you just focus on, like, okay, just keep the pressure on them? Yeah, so, like, that was one of the best parts of Zeta was because it was, like, an undercover thing, and they one-upped it again. Like, the Cynthia stuff was really neat. It wasn't just, like, this person that Camille meets for the first time, but it's, like, someone, we're told for the first time, but at least, like, you get the idea across. Like, Taurus is from there, and he knows Cecilia from way back, and she's kind of it's like a combination of that spy story with the other spy story in 79 Gundam, where Kai brought that woman in. But it was an interesting bit of pathos, like, they've been going on in the previous episodes about... Sorry that I'm jumping around a lot.
It's all good. It's all good.
There's just a bit of pathos, like when they keep talking about, like, what does it mean to act selfishly, in the context of like, why are you fighting? Like, why are you devoting yourself to a cause? It's interesting. But like crybaby Cecilia, like it's interesting that she's like acting, selfishly. Like, so yeah, I guess like, she is selling out the Argama and like this like cause to this imperial force.
For her reasons.
Her reason. And it's interesting that it's like it's selfish, but it's not exactly for her own sake also. The way they just give like little hints at like the tension, like with her. I guess they have that thing where the dad has a bottle with. I don't think it's exactly this, but it might as well just be a bottle with 3 X's on it, saying like, "Oh, he's an alcoholic."
Right.
Like she's doing everything for her family, but she sees her family as a kind of burden. So she's like not doing it out of like a love for her family, but a sort of like an insecurity or a feeling of like being unloved or hated. Like
she is trying to free herself.
Yeah.
If her family gets in a better spot, she doesn't have to be doing what she's doing anymore.
And then like that's so sad. Like when she like goes to redeem herself, like she blows herself up. Which, by the way, they shouldn't have. Why Goten have to give her a bomb? I'm glad it backfired. But when she goes to redeem herself to like by blowing herself up, and with it blowing up the Zeon ship, then Judo, I think to some degree rightly, is like, how could you do something so selfish? So even when she's like trying to redeem herself, it still ends up like not looking good for her. And I was
it's just all around for her.
Because I was thinking like until Judo said that, I was afraid that the show was being like the classic Tomino and women not meshing well. I was afraid they were doing a thing where her growth came because a man yelled at her. But it was more like a man yelled at her and that triggered her insecurities in it, to be motivated differently, to be like pushed towards a different goal.
Change course a little bit.
Right? So the whole time when she was crying, like, oh, Taurus hates me, I forgot what she was saying exactly. But she was like crying something like that over and over again when she was like on the mobile suit, on the Zeon mobile suit. I thought at first it was just like a non-flattering version of, well, she's redeeming herself, but you just understand it as like this really sad person motivated to take a really sad action.
No, it was. This is where it felt like sad and tragic, like what fans are into, or what I feel Gundam is about.
Yeah, I was looking at the and I was looking at the description of Zeta Gundam. I guess that's what I call it. And it said it was it takes place during the event of the first Neo-Zeon War. These people can't catch a break. There's gonna be another Neo-Zeon War right around the corner.
There sure is. So what's your opinion on Play?
On who?
Play. The cyber new type.
Oh, is she a cyber new type?
She kind of comes across to me as one. I don't know. She kind of teeters towards that end.
Right, with that brainwashing sequence, which, by the way, another improvement. That's another example of what we were talking about with Haman's attempted seduction of Judo. How it dramatizes and shows you how that might go about. It was really cool to see what it's like to like experience that brainwashing.
Right, because in worst case, they didn't really show us that. They just told us like, oh yeah, they drugged her up and stuck her into this machine.
Yeah. So I guess my main feeling is that Play, well, one, that they made her like just be a kid. made the childish behavior, you know, feel better to me than when it was Rosami or Four. It felt like a more understandable reason why they would be that way. I didn't like. There was, I guess that there was one moment where it felt like maybe it was a little bit too close to the character being a little sexualized. I think when they were eating ice cream together and she wanted to sit on his lap and then kiss him and then she licked his face. When I say it all in a row, it's like it sounds more heavy, more disgusting than it ended up being.
What it was, but it does teeter that a little bit.
And like that's like not far from the episodes where Glemy, I got that first try. I was gonna say Char Jr. The scene where Glemy like sees Reina's underwear.
Yeah.
But after, like, besides those two scenes, they do stick to them just being kids, I feel. And yeah, like going back to play, like I guess what we're talking about. Yeah, I liked her. I liked the relationship she had with her with the Cubile. Like her introduction was really cool when that Cubile shows up. It like that was a really cool thing because that's such an identifiable, like, iconic design. I immediately went, oh shit, and like those bits are so scary. But it's interesting how they fail sometimes, and it's because like you have a kid fighting a war using a machine that depends on that functions through
that psychomu
like
technology.
It lets there be a very natural kind of dramatization too with her de-brainwashing, her deprogramming, where like it would stop working when she would recognize Judo as her friend. I think that happened a couple of times, but then they would like get back in power. You have like the emotional threat, like the sort of like immediate conflict of suddenly she doesn't see Judo as the friend like who she had fun playing with, and also her scary Gundam, her scary mobile suit is ready to do damage too.
It's a terrifying ship for sure.
Also kind of scary is that the way that the bond forms is in the middle of a fight. To her, mobile suit battles is just play. Kind of like an Ender's Game sort of thing.
It's like an Ender's Game sort of thing, isn't it?
No,
she feels more compelling to me than the previous new types of Four and Rosami especially. So
yeah, just a small shift of making them actual children certainly helps us contextualize so much. But even then, as a child, like it feels like more thought was put into contextualizing whatever weird shit they're saying. Like, okay, she sees this as play, probably because that's kind of her training.
That's right.
Yeah, so I found her character a lot more effective, and certainly less creepy. Also, I love this. I thought it was so funny. I guess like two funny moments that she had was when she breaks Judo out of jail, and he ends up putting her in cuffs. And she's like, I was gonna take her to Reina, but I forget that. I'm mad now. That's like a funny thing, and also like if only you could communicate, which is a really cool like source of tension whenever they do it. Like we talked about it in the novelization with Char and Amuro trying to get through to each other. And it's with the appropriate level of lightness because she eventually, spoilers, she joins eventually. The other scene that was funny, just in that it's funny to see, was when Amuro tries to make his way over to her cockpit. Like she comes to her sense for a second, he goes over to the cockpit, and then she's like holding a gun at him. It's so funny when children have guns. In
this case, yes, it was definitely funny. I love that jailbreak out scene though.
There's so much more and okay, just another general thing about, I think that's the line I'm gonna keep going back to is that with some exceptions of course, but in the previous Gundams, a lot of time they're just telling you that something happens, like Char happens to be faster so he gets the upper hand, but because you get to have them get off their mobile suits and like switch who's piloting what. Like there's more of a sense of even the action scenes feel like there's a drama you can follow, or like an A to B that you can follow. I was thinking like with judo, like I was gonna like list out some examples. Like judo's like gun doesn't work because I think they forgot to like bring an energy pack or something. So then he thinks about luring Mashimre through an asteroid belt across all the dummies. That they explain how the dummies worked, and then they end up like like taking the bait and like hitting actual asteroids. It's like, okay, so you see a plan, form. You see a problem, reaction to the problem form, and the plan like get executed. It works and then it stops working. That's like you're watching and like you get it. The other one is like when judo like breaks into Axis. Like it's cool to see like all the logic of like carrying a dummy, there being too many dummies around. Like the stuff with the dummy is actually pretty cool overall now I'm thinking about it. Like where in Axis he puts the mobile suit, like how he hides it. There's another example, I guess, in that other accident when the Argama goes to rescue Judo. I think like Emma, what's her name? Emma, the blonde, Ellie,
Rue. Ro?
No, the
the one from the colony with him.
Yeah. But by the way, she gets a great introduction too. Like Lena, he was like playing hooky, like grab some mobile suit or something. Like Lena finds him, like, "What are you doing?" And then he's like, "Oh, Emmy, like, Emma, how could you like? What happened? Like, you're supposed to like watch her." And like, I don't know, she escaped and she's flipping a coin. He's like, "Okay, so she just let herself be bribed by Reina." I like the relationship they have.
Ellie, yeah, was her name.
Ellie.
Oh yeah, she was turned out to be a good pilot too.
Yeah.
A good character in her own right that isn't on the male characters.
But they still stick to the pattern that I'm glad they haven't broken it. That the first time anyone gets in a mobile suit, they're not good at it. Like when she first gets in one, like you see them like flailing inside of the ship. Like there's a slapstick thing.
Of course, you wouldn't be good at it the first time you're in one. Like, I would also struggle to close the cockpit. Like,
yeah, a lot of like, man, those hatches. Apparently, that's the trickiest part. People end up on an open mobile suit a lot in this one. I'll take that. That feels like in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, like you have to have his mask break more because that way you get to see the actor's face act. Oh yeah, but the scene where Ellie goes in to rescue Judo, and Rue stays behind and like keeps fights off the the defensive like force like coming in after they when they're invading Axis. And there's this really cool sequence where I don't remember the exact events, but like one a mobile suit comes at her, she like riposts, another one comes from behind and she like cuts off its head, she shoots at this other one, and she like then like when she thinks she catches the brakes, another one comes in and shoots missiles at her, and you see all these things happen and her react, and you see her like, oh, like that took some good piloting to and like awareness to do all of that.
Is that new type of Billy coming through?
Yeah, like, she's got to be new type, right? She's got the hair.
Here's my theory: every character of that generation in space going to have some kind of inherent capabilities.
Yeah, they're all space noids too. That probably makes sense. Like, that really makes sense. There's more of a. It seems to be that there's more and more new types. Some kind of turn is happening in Gundam world.
Shinta and Cume, they're going to be the ultimate new types.
Oh yeah, they were born in it. They were raised by they were molded by it.
They're raised by Bright Noah too, like
the ultimate shepherd of young people with new type abilities in dangerous situations.
I love their interactions with the prisoners of wars every time.
Why do they keep putting them in charge?
Oh no! It's dangerous choice every time, isn't it? It's a fun choice of conflict though. Whenever it does happen,
Yeah. And I like them. Yeah, they have their limits, but they're proactive.
come better than the first pilot characters from '79 too.
Yeah, you get to see them do more. I guess like they had that in '79. They had a thing where they saw the bombs and
They helped save Jericho. What was that base?
J- Jaburo.
Burrow. Yes.
Yeah. To what end? It only ended up getting nuked anyways.
But that was unforeseeable. There was
Yeah.
the Antarctica Treaty.
Yeah, but these ones you get to see more from their perspective. They're not just like they're not just there for the development of the girl next door character to be like, oh, actually, raising young ones is my role in all of this.
They're largely raising themselves.
Yeah, now there is no one to raise. That's an interesting thing.
Fa is gone. She did the selfish thing. She's with
With Camille.
I would have made that choice too. She made the right choice.
Yeah. Not everyone can be good at piloting mobile suits, I suppose.
Oh, and she didn't mix well with the new cast.
That's true. They were a little mean to her. They kept calling her like, "Oh, this old lady."
Well, she's not much older either.
She's not. Like, war will take a toll. That's for sure.
But what does that make Bright age-wise to them?
What do you have any feeling about his flirtationship with Emery?
It wasn't fair to
Mirai?
Mirai, and I have more experiences with Mirai, so that was a dirty move on his part for sure.
Yeah, they didn't have him cross the line at any point, but sometimes it was.
It's close. It was borderline. I'm pretty sure after their base walk together, there might have been.
Right, but then we don't see much of Emery. Did I miss?
No, we don't see too much of her.
And, like, I get like things happen, like the trauma bonding and these high adrenaline experiences after a long time being alone. I get it can get tricky.
It sucks so much for Hathaway and Mirai and his daughter, who I'm speaking or blanking the name of.
Right, like I can remember Hathaway because that there's a show called Hathaway, so I'm like more. I put a pin on that name more. It was an interesting moment where, and I don't remember exactly like what triggered it, but he's like when he starts like thinking about his family, and he's like thinking about his children. He's like, "Am I a bad father?"
He's not there, is he?
That's true. Like he has reason. Yeah, I forget. Yeah, I forget exactly what triggered the thought, but at the very least, yeah, being away for so long, and I guess like he's thinking about how he deals with young people because he's in this like tricky situation where he has to deal with these like new young people. Yeah, next time I'll try to do some more research on Tomino. I wonder if like Tomino at this point, like he has kids, right? Tomino's married?
I think he was, yeah. I think he's had some tough marriages, I believe.
Oh, multiple. That kind of just that quiet moment of like taking time, like, am I a bad father? It just felt like that felt real. It felt like it came from a real place.
I agree. When Bright does something, I mean, complicated character, and I like him more for it. Like, yes, he may very well be a bad father, but I love the way he's presented.
Yeah.
Even with the possible disloyalties.
Yeah, it seemed to me that it was like there was, I guess there was some chemistry, and that was more like just like something he dealt with. Like I don't think they ever maybe they would have if he would maybe he could have been more careful, but it seemed like I want to interpret it as him not really crossing the line. This just being like something that he's dealing with.
Right. Like any human in space, years away from family would have to deal with. No, I like your take better that nothing happened.
I wonder, like, I'm sure, like, if right after their spacewalk, they got captured by Zeon and put in a cell together, who's to say what happens then? But
well, they're captured by Zeon too, so
yeah, that might put a blanket on things. So I think the marriage is safe.
I think so.
I
think you're right.
Also, I'm not sure.
I want to hope you're right.
Yeah, I want to believe in Bright. So far, the worst thing he's done is shoot a huge laser at a strategic target that's non-military.
He showed a lot of hesitation, though.
Yeah, so good on him.
Yeah, in the end, he did pull the trigger.
Yeah.
He's complicated, and I like the character more for it.
Yeah, I didn't expect Bright to be such a constant. Like, it's so interesting that each of these series has a different protagonist, but Bright is still there guiding them.
That's an interesting choice, too. I mean, in retrospect, it could have been Amuro guiding these new characters.
Right, yeah. A different incarnation might have had that, where he like sticks around and be like, this is how you pilot the mobile suit. Oh, you're having visions, you're hearing things that don't make sense. I'll tell you all about that. Like, it's just Bright who seems right. Like, he's like, we don't really get confirmation that he's new type. I don't think he just understands that they are away, and he just sort of has to thread the needle of giving them space and giving them structure. Which is that's where a lot of the interesting stuff happens, and like this theme. I think the theme was more explicit or more prominent in the Gundam novelization. In Zeta as well, like the question of can humans like bridge the gap of unknowing between each other and come to understanding together. The double Zeta has like an interesting evolution of that. That's like political and interpersonal. It's like, can humans come together despite, everyone being on their own personal, like, individual projects? Like, what does it mean to be selfish without sacrificing one's own freedom and, like, ideals?
I am liking the nuances with this interpersonal direction that it's taking.
Like, all that stuff between either, like, that we touched on, all that stuff between the Shangri-La group, where so like they find out that there's a spine that it's probably Mondo and Vicha. Like, they already kind of know, but they don't, like, they kind of like want to deal with it amongst each other before they bring it up to it's like a little bit more positive Lord of the Flies. Like these kids like found like a I wish it was a more precise word for this, but like a political understanding between each other. But that's another thing that we like. I'll go back to Moon Moon. You know what? Moon Moon's good. It's good. It's interesting that part of the conflict between the Sarasa and the Rasara clans at Moon Moon, there's a technology thing, and there's also the missionary zeal that
they were trying to push at first of spread our message everywhere. Yeah,
it's an interesting thing of I don't even know where I'm going with it. I guess it's something of
I think where we're going with it. I mean, it's a nice little
like a microcosm of
it's of what's going on with this larger space conflict in the context of new types and.
Mm-hmm.
Are they weapons? Are they spurs? Are they next step that everyone is going to get to enjoy?
Yeah.
And watching, one of the thoughts I had is that, this is like the new type tension taken to its most extreme.
Now, it'd be interesting if Moon Moon had more new type stuff going on. Like they just sort of touch on what if there was a people that want to be themselves, found something that works, and then there's a group of people that want to proliferate and people that don't. I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but like the original like Xeon Rebellion, this idea that out in space, like it's a different context where a different way of understanding the world makes sense, and they want their independence from like the Galactic Federation. But then another group takes over, and their project becomes invading Earth and establishing the supremacy of like this new people.
Right, yeah.
It's like a weirdly smaller scale, like more spiritual version would be like these people that's like, no, you have to live by our laws, and we're gonna spread our gospel throughout the world. It's like instead of political formations defining it, it's a sort of spiritual,
Theological.
or religious, theological. Yeah, I'm just gonna point out that Rasara. I'm not gonna get there. One of them had had a necklace that had a cross on it with a crescent moon in the middle.
Yeah, sorry.
I get
Sarasa.
I mean,
Sarasa moon.
Sarasa. And
What about the
what?
Were you just making the observation, or was there a judge?
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to. I wanted to like walk up to it, but not like take the leap. But there's a certain religions that use those symbols and have a missionary
Ecclesiastical
project to their.
This concept of spread the word to save others.
Yeah, but I don't have like much more. Like I don't want to.
No, and then the sister Rasara Moon doesn't have any sort of old world arms like that.
Yeah, I guess she's spiritual, but she's not religious but spiritual.
She's a little less dogmatic.
Yeah, so there's a lesson there. It worked out. It's cool that it's not. It's only like they only threw those symbols in, just be like, oh, look, like this thing.
It was a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It fit dramatically to kind of show their differences.
Is there anything you wanted to hit about like this first batch of Zeta Gundam before I think we're getting
closer to time. We went back to Moon even. See, I told you it was a good arc.
It was good. You're right.
Mind you, some of your visual criticisms make sense, and some of the character styling could have been done a bit better.
Yeah, and even like the main thing about the Moon twins, that one is nice, one is mean, and we talked about the dogmatic thing. Like there's just enough. There's
enough there.
Yeah,
I'm hoping for a little more depth next time, though. I mean, is what else could come next? If this exists, well, what else can there be?
What if there was I mean, about how many colonies realistically can they have forgotten?
I
guess as many as they want, but you lose one. Wow. Okay, I get it. It's it'd be interesting. Like they could do anything. There could be a Lagrange point that hasn't been discovered or like charted, where debris collects, like that giant island of plastic in the Pacific Ocean, where the currents like bring everything to that spot. It could be a Lagrange point where like debris collects and junkers create a society there. Maybe they're all new types and they organize themselves in a different. Like there's a
lot of different organizations that could happen there.
Like you brought up Jupiter. We haven't seen the planets too much,
and that excites me for sure. You want a closing comment? I guess one last thing, Chara. Her design is very 1980s, and I dig it.
All were on her. Yeah, I guess I like her overall. I think I liked Machinery a little more. But I like the voice actor. Like her voice actress is it's like a very unique voice. It's very cool. I like her like raspy, kind of like Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah, just looking at that character. That's what that character should sound like.
Yeah, and again, like they have, it's like cool, like kind of upgrade, like from Machinery to her to, I got his name right the first time. Was his name Was Char Jr.'s name?
Placo, Glaco,
Blamo.
Amo.
We seem to be getting like a steady, like progression of seriousness for these villains.
We are. Haman remains to be top, though.
Yeah, she's cool. She's a presence. I don't like her helmet so much. I think like when I was a little nervous about jumping into Zeta when I was just seeing like the promotional material. I didn't like how they drew the eyes at first. I've adjusted to it, and then I would see Haman in that costume, and I was afraid it was gonna like take a turn to Power Rangers.
It hasn't done it yet.
Yeah. Just like she's got a design. Like they're just taking a different direction.
Base hologram is badass.
Yeah, the 2 times they did the hologram thing, I was like, that's cool. Yeah, I'm sure we can hit on more. Maybe we'll have to save that for next time. I think we're hitting on my out.
Or out time.
Yeah, there's a blast. I'm so glad we're doing this project. I never would have gotten as far as ZZ Gundam if we weren't doing this show.
I would not have made it so far myself either. So ideas, I like the conversations that it garners.
Mm-hmm.
The other concern there is that they could have just stuck with the tropes throughout, and we just would not have anything else to talk about. So it's doing enough new stuff,
Yeah, like that's true. Yeah, Gundam keeps it fresh so far. So we'll see as we go.
I for one really enjoying Zeta for doing its own thing.
Yeah, so this is part 1 of Mobile Suit Zeta Book Club.
Mobile Suit Zeta Double Book Club.
Double Book Club. Yeah, join us next time when we talk about the second half. We're going to talk about everything after they land on Earth, episodes 25-ish to end.
Oh yeah, and then we got some Exterminator to hit up.
Yeah. Oh man, that's been a fun thing. I'm like halfway through it, and it's really cool. It's like listening to a noise album, but you're reading it. It's cool. William Burroughs, good writer, it turns out.
I'm excited to take that apart. Anyhow, thank you all for listening. Corbin's signing off now.
Yeah, this is Roberto. Have a pleasant evening.
See y'all.
道もない荒れた